On June 14, 2025, Anthropic completed the global rollback restoration of Claude Fable 5, its most capable model to date, after a turbulent 72-hour period that saw API access suspended across AWS Bedrock, Google Cloud Vertex AI, and Anthropic's own direct endpoints. The model was back, but something had changed. Developers firing up their CI pipelines and IDE extensions discovered that requests which ran cleanly days earlier were now returning refusals. Not edge cases, not jailbreak attempts, routine software engineering work. The culprit, a new layered safety classification system Anthropic deployed alongside the restoration, and the fallout is still unfolding. Anthropic's official post-incident communication, published June 15th, acknowledged what they called a recalibration of output safety classifiers, concurrent with the Fable 5 service restoration. The company stated the classifiers were updated to address vulnerabilities identified during the brief suspension, vulnerabilities Anthropic has not fully detailed publicly. What they did confirm, the new system uses a multi-layer architecture. A pre-generation classifier evaluates the prompt, a post-generation classifier evaluates the output, and a contextual meta-classifier weighs both against session history. 3 gates, where previously there was, functionally, 1. The developer community cataloged the damage quickly. Within 48 hours of restoration, GitHub issues and forum threads documented 3 primary categories of false positives. First, security-adjacent code. Functions involving network socket manipulation, memory buffer operations, and authentication bypass logic, standard penetration testing work, now trigger refusals roughly 18% of the time, according to aggregated testing by the AI engineering collective LLM OpsWatch. Second, cryptographic implementations. Writing or debugging encryption routines, hash functions, or certificate handling code produces refusals at measurable rates. Third, red team test cases. Developers writing adversarial inputs to test their own application's robustness find Claude now treats those test cases as genuine attack vectors. The practical consequences are serious. Continuous integration pipelines that use Claude for automated code review, test generation, or documentation are experiencing non-deterministic failures. A request that passes one run gets flagged the next. IDE extensions like Continue, Cursor, and Cody, tools millions of developers rely on daily, are surfacing refusal errors mid-workflow. One infrastructure engineer at a mid-sized fintech firm described it bluntly on Hacker News. We had to roll back to Sonnet 3.5 for our security audit tooling. Fable 5 is smarter, but it won't do the job. That sentiment is widespread, and it represents a real cost to Anthropic's enterprise positioning. Anthropic has been explicit, more explicit than most AI companies, about why they accept false positives.
Their responsible scaling policy, updated in May 2025, states that, at the frontier, the cost of under-restriction exceeds the cost of over-restriction by orders of magnitude. Dario Amodei, in a June 2025 interview, framed it directly. We would rather temporarily inconvenience 1,000 developers than enable one catastrophic misuse. That's a clear philosophical position. It's also a business risk. The tension between safety leadership and developer experience is no longer theoretical. It's showing up in migration metrics. The fundamental challenge is semantic overlap. Legitimate security engineering and actual attack preparation use identical language, identical code patterns, identical tooling. A buffer overflow exploit written by a penetration tester to secure a client system is syntactically indistinguishable from one written to compromise it. Anthropic's classifiers are attempting to infer intent from context, but context is thin in API calls. A single request to write a function that bypasses certificate pinning carries no ambient signal about whether it's defensive or offensive work. The classifiers default to caution. That default is the false positive. Developers aren't powerless here. Several adaptations are proving effective. First, front-load context in system prompts. Explicitly state the professional role, the defensive purpose, and the authorization context. You are assisting a licensed penetration tester conducting an authorized assessment measurably reduces false positive rates. Second, decompose sensitive requests. Instead of asking for a complete exploit chain, request individual components, the socket handler, the payload encoder, the validation bypass, separately. Third, implement retry logic with prompt variation in CI pipelines. If a request is refused, programmatically rephrase and resubmit. Fourth, use Anthropic's new classifier feedback endpoint, launched quietly on June 17th, to flag false positives directly. Anthropic has confirmed these reports feed into classifier retraining. This isn't isolated to Anthropic. OpenAI faced similar backlash after GPT-4o's safety update in early 2025. Google's Gemini models have their own well-documented over-refusal patterns. The entire frontier AI industry is navigating the same trade-off, and none of them have solved it. But Anthropic's case matters disproportionately because they've staked their brand on being the safety-first lab. If their safety mechanisms drive developers to less safe competitors, the net effect on AI safety is negative. Anthropic knows this. The speed of their feedback endpoint deployment suggests they're treating this as urgent. Anthropic's June 18th developer newsletter indicated that classifier sensitivity adjustments are planned for the coming weeks, with enterprise-tier customers gaining access to configurable safety thresholds, a significant policy shift.
If implemented, this would let organizations with verified security credentials operate under relaxed classifier settings while maintaining strict defaults for general access. That's a pragmatic middle ground, but it's not here yet. For now, developers building on Claude Fable 5 need to adapt their prompts, harden their pipelines against non-deterministic refusals, and provide structured feedback through official channels. The model underneath is genuinely exceptional. The guardrails around it are still being calibrated. That calibration period is the cost of building at the frontier, and right now, developers are the ones paying it.